Hello, I'm Vince Williams with Madiba magazine. Dame, how are you?
Good. What's happening?
I'm good, thank you. Mike is on the side there, out of traffic in a safe location, so we've got him in
You're
there.
good.
Want to just make
Okay,
sure he's
good.
safe. Okay, you're good. Okay, and Dame, can you hear us okay?
Good.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, I want to start out and opening up Dame. With saying again, thank you for taking the time. I know that both you and Mike are very busy, and the time has actually allowed me to do more research on you because I like to know thoroughly who I'm talking to and who I'm getting to, really interview in depth. And so the time allowed me, I think, to be able to dig deep into the individual that you are and to be able to, ask you questions that are relevant and are very pertinent, as well as Principal Mike McGrone. Dame, you need no introduction. With it being the 50th year anniversary of hip hop, I mean, we couldn't have a better guest featured in the pages of our magazine in Madiba.
Thank you.
And this has to be, it has to be a huge time for you. Everybody knows the big name. We're going to talk about some great things here today, but everybody, knows you from signing some of the iconic artists, from Kanye West to Jay-Z and beyond. But you have really had a big impact and a lasting impact in hip hop and entertainment and in business in general as an entrepreneur. And oftentimes, as you know, um, the person behind the scenes doesn't always get the acknowledgments and the accolades, but they're doing most of the work in many cases. Like I remember an interview that you had made conducted where you said, hey, you really had to go out there and shop and sell, Jay-Z in the beginning, his act, because a lot of labels weren't trying to entertain him in the beginning. So you really had to put a lot of work in there, and oftentimes that doesn't get acknowledged.
Thank you.
Yes, you're quite welcome. So let's get into the heart of the interview. Now, you've come to Chicago several times recently, and specifically as it relates to the IYC, the Illinois Youth Center, which is basically a prison for juveniles. And I think you witnessed conditions there that were deplorable, and you spoke out on those conditions. So I'd like to have you to elaborate a little bit on that and tell us, your reasons for a visit to Chicago and specifically IYC in Chicago.
Well, I'm a part of a group called the OSG, which Principal McGrone is also a part of, and we met at the OSG summit in Columbia, at Columbia University in New York. And he had articulated, what the experience was where he was working, and I just felt like I needed to see that for myself. You hear about things, and seeing it, and me being a businessman, someone tells me about a company or someone tells me about an artist, I can't hear about it. I have to see it to digest, in real time. And
Sure.
while I had business to take care of in Gary with, at the time, Senator, who's now the mayor, Eddie Milton, I was able to pop over to Chicago and visit the jail. And, what I saw there was, he couldn't articulate how bad it was because it's hard to, articulate a smell or a feeling, that anxiety you feel when they close them doors and that air you got to breathe and how you are affected by that and seeing other people that don't have the option of leaving, how they're being treated. It was really beyond what I've seen on TV And, to see that happening to our children, it made things a lot clearer to me as to why this cycle doesn't change and where it all starts. And, the worst part about it is, I am a businessman, and taxes are a big issue in my life. And knowing that tax money would be going to torturing children, it just doesn't sit so well with me. That the government is actually funding what's going on. And I don't believe that the people cutting the checks even visit where they're cutting the checks to, or who they're cutting the checks to, because, they got to cut a lot of checks. But, for me, if there's a cycle that happens over and over again and there's intelligent people around, then that cycle is intentional. But it's just sad that the destruction of our children has become a business model and also a tool to control us culturally by disenfranchising, kids from their parents, putting them in a situation where they have to fight each other to survive, not
Sure.
educate them, drug them up, not give them any outdoor space, and then, knowing that there's a lot of trauma, not get that dealt with in a way that would help, would actually hurt by putting white women in front of black males to, you know, it just to traumatize the white women, and
Sure. Now, and I think to just add to that, that one of the important aspects that you're pointing out with that is that you're dealing with young black men in this case that would be better understood perhaps by black psychiatrists and by black counselors as far as it relates to their
black
upbringing
men.
background, and not simply, white women.
Well, guess what? When I got to go there and talk to the superintendent, who's no longer there, but also a table full of people, the answer to the reason why they said they didn't have any black males giving therapy was because no black males would do it for that price. And I knew that that was ridiculous because I could call 3 speed dial that would give them free therapy in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, oftentimes we'll find that as an excuse, and it sort of bewilders me how that's used here and probably across the country, but especially in Chicago, that typical, we can't find any qualified African Americans. We can't find, I had that once told to me in a classroom by an
The
instructor.
thing is, if someone says they can't find them, I'm like, but I'll find them.
And
So they're right here. So there's nothing to talk about.
yes, and in fact,
I'm definitely not depending on my oppressor to get me therapy to make me not be oppressed. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely, absolutely. And the thing about it, the point being, is that the city has an abundance of qualified African American psychiatrists. I know several
And
psychologists,
an abundance of
counselors.
money.
Absolutely,
Some kids
absolutely.
are getting, I don't want to say it wrong, but it's like, sounds like over $1.2 million a bed per year, per kid.
Yes. Now, and I understand that the state of Illinois, that those numbers or figures are derived from the amount that's budgeted in the state of Illinois' budget, approximately $150 million per annum for the running of the Illinois juvenile justice system.
But what I
And
suspect is that it's not only there, that this is happening in every single state, every single
absolutely.
city, that there's black people in this country.
Absolutely. But Chicago has always been a good sample and a good microcosm, or should I say, a bellwether for the rest of the nation. What sort of goes on here is automatically assumed to be going on many other places. And you have to know some of the backdrop of Chicago to sort of understand, why things function and operate as they do. For example, this is a city that corruption has run rampant in the city. For example, the Chicago Police Department. The city has spent out hundreds of millions of dollars for misconduct by the police department, specifically the abuse of Black men. I don't know if you're familiar with the name John Burge. He was a lieutenant, I believe, for the Chicago Police Department. He's deceased now, but he tortured Black men. Confessions under this was on the watch of the former mayor Richard M. Daley, white mayor, who was also at a point in time the state's attorney for the county of Cook. And the lawsuits from that time are still stemming in from wrongful convictions of Black men. You have, and you know, we're talking about nearly topping $1 billion in lawsuits, legal fees, settlements at the hands of this misconduct. From the police department alone. Then you have a city where the patronage and the corruption is so deep that you had, in the case of former Mayor Daley, who was mayor for about 21 years, you had a disproportionate of whites being hired to almost every not only police department, but every major department in the city of Chicago, from the water department, the fire department. You know, there's a lawsuit going on now by about 117 Black firefighters who were passed over for promotions and so forth. And this has been going on for the last 20 years. Not only the water department, lawsuits and judgments were just handed down, or settlements, I believe, from discrimination in the water department. So the water department, fire department, discrimination and consent decrees handed down on the Chicago Police Department. Almost every department, the parks division, not to mention public schools. So the city has been manifested with corruption. In fact, just Monday, a few days ago, the longest running or the longest serving alderman in the city of Chicago, Edward Burke, was indicted for a fraud scheme with the utility company, ComEd, for kickbacks to his law firm. He served as an alderman in Chicago for, I think, some 40 plus years. He was part of the anti-Harold Washington force. You know, Harold Washington being the first Black mayor of the city of Chicago, Ed Burke opposed him in every term. He was just convicted in federal court some time ago and sentenced to 2 years just a few days ago. So the corruption has been so endemic here that it's had an impact. So now, you know, you look at the prison system and you look at the way that it's run. And when you say $1.2 million per bed, then you factor into that, you know, from our point of view here in Chicago, that that 150 million has to be given to the friends and the pals and the donors and the different people that have elected and done campaign work sometimes for some of these political figures. So, you know, while some may disagree, you know, this is what we've been dealing with here in Chicago for quite some time. And now we're on the heels of the Democratic National Convention coming to Chicago. And so I think that this is an ideal time. And that's why I'm so happy to have you featured in the pages of Madiba magazine, because I think it's an ideal time to put the spotlight on issues that are of importance to our communities, you know, across the city and the country. And I think that you do a fine job at that. And so it impacted you. You've been there to the IYC Chicago at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, the third time they didn't let me in.
The third time they wouldn't let you in. I know I saw you out there one time.
Me or a congresswoman or, you know, Dennis McKeezy, Prince, you know, Dr. McKeezy. They wouldn't let a lot of us in.
Yes, yes. now I know I also saw you out there with in the company of Chairman Fred Hampton of the Chicago Black Panther Party Cubs.
Mhm.
Working with you in that effort. So tell me, have you gotten any response from the conditions that you've witnessed from any of the authorities in the state of Illinois and the Illinois juvenile prison system?
What I heard was that, there was an investigation and a supervisor got removed. But, from what I understand, not so much more than that. I know what I've discovered or we've discovered since then is that, that mold is living inside the people that are exposed to being in that environment. At least that's what I've been, that's what alleged,
Sure. And joining us as well is Principal Michael McGrone, who is the acting principal at the IYC Chicago. Maybe Principal McGrone can shed a little light for us as to if there's been any kind of resolution or any kinds of actions that have been taken since your coming out to help stop those kind of conditions. Dane, Michael, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. Can you tell us if there's been any kind of progress made in improving the deplorable conditions there at the school that you serve principal of?
So I would go as far as to say that improvements has been made. I can't say thank you enough for Dane and the work that he's done behind the scenes and being out front, as well as Senator Collins. So at this moment, they have paid a professional to come out to deal with the mold issues in the showers, the issues within the bathrooms. Are there still a host of other issues? Absolutely. But I can tell you, none of this would have been even thought about had Dane not took the initiative to call, to use his contact to hold folks accountable within IDJJ. So not only has his efforts impacted IYC Chicago, but
Yes.
it literally has impacted the entire IDJJ, in that movement has been going on throughout the entire Illinois Department of Juvenile Justice. There's quite a bit of work to be done within IDJJ. However, I will tell you, I'm there every day, in that a lot has been done, and from April to now, when they did not allow us in this building for things to happen. As a matter of fact, we had graduation today, and the building was they spot checked every nook and cranny of that building. They pretty much know I like to call myself the proud whistleblower, because you have to fight for a cause greater than yourself. And I always tell anybody in education that whatever you're doing, it has to be what's in the best interest of children. And there's no dog in the fight for me.
Yes.
What I did find out is not too many people care about poor Black boys that commit crimes. And the issue that I have with that is the young men that are within confinement are going to be out, a lot of them out in less than 7 months to a year. And if we don't do right by them, we are literally producing psychopathic killers. So
Yes.
it will behoove us to make sure that we put them in an environment that they can become their best self. With regard
Absolutely.
to counselors that have shared experiences, to make sure that they're in an environment that they can go outside. Unfortunately, our building is not designed where you can go outside, so we still have youth that don't go out for weeks to months at a time. And what parts that play from a pathological perspective on their brain and how they act out. So things are being. However, we have a lot of work to be done. And to your point, well, to Dane's point, Chicago is just the launching pad for something bigger that we know that's an issue with prisons throughout the country.
Absolutely. And I believe you told me, Principal McGrone, that two of your former students were involved in the not so distant action of killing a Chicago police officer. I think Ariana Preston. They were just released not long before that incident from your institution, your location.
Correct.
And so, I think that begs the question in many cases, and I've seen interviews of you there where you've mentioned that you've had almost a few dozen of your students to be killed within a year or so of release.
We had 20 kids. I've been there 5 years, and so at this point, I've lost 20 individuals in a 5-year span.
In a 5-year span, that's still too short of a time span. I mean, that's still a serious situation, and quite obviously, to think that two of your students that were just released would go right out and kill a police officer, and a young female police officer, cold-heartedly. Obviously, something isn't working when it comes to rehabilitation. And
I think Dane make a good point, and I really didn't think about it until he talked about it. In that, when you talk about legislative change, I never thought about that until he talked about senator. And if you want something to change, you have to vote on it. You have to have legislative change. I never thought about that until now, and being able to vote for things to happen, because we just fight for cause that's nothing's going to happen if we don't get into those legislative branches to be able to push for things to change. So right now we have some serious issues that require legislative change if we're going to move the pendulum in that what impacts boys. But to Dane's point, your oppressor is not going to put you in a position where you can win.
Absolutely not.
Because those beds are worth over $1 billion. And it's benefiting the people that are oppressing them. So we have to have a voice, and because of his voice, he have wide range where he can speak to the masses. So
that's a beautiful thing. And the impact that Dame and yourself brings to this crisis and situation is just unquantifiable. I mean, it gets the attention that it deserves. And of course, some people would say that they're not concerned about these individuals because they've committed heinous crimes. But we're talking about rehabilitating these individuals, and that are going to be released right back into our communities on the south and west sides within a matter of probably a few years. And investing in them to give them the education and the skill set to be able to succeed and not to fall victim to recidivism, to wind up right back to the penal institution.
I really do believe, and I will go as far as to say, and I think Dame talked about this often too, and I because I didn't know that we just don't know. I think it's people in our community just don't know. And speaking of that, he has a platform where with his own platform, he's able to spread this message without all this garbage media and movies and and all the stuff that's out there, to be able to give information. Our people need information, and the more information that they have, the more they can advocate on behalf of Black boys. So, for example, a lot of people don't know that facility even exists on the west side, and they live there. And had they
absolutely
that facility is there, then maybe they would do something about it.
And look, I have to be honest with you, the both of you. I've passed by that facility 100 times and didn't know exactly what it is, you know. And it was only to, you know, after I did more investigations and actually went there and delved deep, you would have no idea of what's being housed, you know, within the four walls of that building. So to bring back in the superhero, Dame Dash, um, Dash, many have referred to you as a superhero, that you are a fighter for the culture. And this is what we want to get your impact. Why do you think that is so important for you and others to take a stand and to make your voices heard when it comes to these kind of issues that are affecting our communities?
I mean, I care about my culture. You know, I love my culture, and I hate seeing my culture get bullied. And you know, my culture has made my life and my family's life, you know, really good. You know, I live well, and it's all from my culture. So on a karmic level, you know, to just leave the people that got you where you had to go to exploit the people, I just don't see how that could end up well. And you know, it's just how I feel. You know, it's nothing I have to tell myself to do. It's just instinctually, that's just pause how my body moves. You know, so
Yes.
I just make sure that I if I'm gonna go to war, that I got an army with me and the right army, and that when I fight, I'm fighting the right fight. And
Yes.
you know, I just believe that in this moment, we have to approach things way different than we ever have, because the way we ever have just doesn't work for us really, or at least not at the speed that we want it to. You know,
Yes.
a lot of times the work that we put in now doesn't really realize itself until we're not here to enjoy it. But
Yes.
you know, for me, there's AI, internet. You know, you have a choice to be programmed or do the programming, and you know, I'm conscious, so I guess I
Yes.
took that green pill way before everyone else did. You know, I could see things clear. Pretending you're happy when you're not, or thinking your life should be architected by what another culture tells you it should be. You know,
Yes.
it doesn't make logical sense to me. You know, it doesn't make logical sense for us being such a powerful culture, such an intelligent culture, a compassionate culture, to ever be controlled by those that are not stronger than us.
Absolutely. And I think that you would have to admit, as a businessman, an entrepreneur, that to budget $150 million per year to house, let's just say, give them the benefit of the doubt, 200 or so inmates, and to have the poor results,
Well,
you know, perform.
the issue there for me would be us being accountable. Us being accountable. You know why? Because we don't own no jails, and most jails are private sector, so we can't. And the ones that have the money to do it, that I heard have done it, they don't seem to be for the culture. So it would take a conscious man from our culture to be smart enough to go figure out how to make their own transitional rehab facility, and you know, really give these people the chance to get better, as opposed
Yeah.
to having them come in and leave worse, physically unhealthy, mentally unhealthy. And I do think that it's very strategic to keep children drugged up while they're supposed to be in class, so that they don't learn how to read. And, you know, based on the metrics that I know, a jail cell is built for every person that can't read by the time they're in the third grade.
Yes.
So
So let
keeping
me
them dumb is a very profitable thing.
absolutely. So let me interject on that point, since you mentioned the educational level, the reading capabilities there. We're witnessing basically an all-out attack on the DEI programs, on Black history in the classrooms being taught, and specifically in states like Florida? I believe you're in Florida. Is that where you call home now? In Florida?
Yeah, for half the year. Well,
Okay.
the problem there is, again, when they hear Black history, we don't present them what that curriculum would look like. It hasn't been written yet. So I think instead of presenting the idea of Black history and then, being shut down, I believe we have to come with a curriculum implemented, because it doesn't have to be in law in this moment as it relates to going to a Black public official or principal. And the problem with the jails to me is that the principal doesn't control the budgets for the education. It's just a line item from a warden that doesn't care about how important education is.
Sure.
But if you can focus on the people that will open the doors and start there, then it will become an algorithm or a behavior pattern that will get copied if it's deemed successful. So one of the things that I learned just by talking and working with Senator Ed Milton is, if I go to a town where I have a congressman or a senator, and it's a small state, and I get a law passed, if it works in that state, there's a good chance that it will go federal. It's almost like we use a state as a pilot, as a metric for success. But if we just blindly come in and say, okay, we're about to teach all white people how terrible your grandfather is, they're going to shut that down. And what people don't understand is, us as a culture, we ain't trying to hurt or embarrass nobody. We're just trying to protect our families. And generally speaking, we like everybody to eat. We come
And to know who you are.
Code.
Absolutely. And to know who you are, your background, your contribution.
So what you're dealing with is scared people that, because you got to remember, part of history that's been erased is the Moors, and that was culturally Black people kicking everybody's ass, but they don't even teach that, and they don't want that to ever happen again. So there was a time where roles were completely reversed.
Yes.
There's like, if someone that was a Moor were to time travel from then to now, they would wow out. Like, what? We're the ones being abused? How did that happen? Or we would be able to rewind and go back to when there was Moors. We'd be like, I can't believe that we were the ones kicking this kind of ass.
Yes.
So, again, we have to be the ones to present the education or curriculum, and it would be in our best interest not to call it Black history, because then they're going to defend it. You have to call it something different. We got to stop telling them our moves. I box. If somebody telling me they throw a punch, I'm going to just be right there with it. Bong, and I'm going to know exactly what to throw.
Absolutely.
I'm going to pre-know what to do. So because we keep talking the same rhetoric and about the same metrics, the same problems, they always know how to defend it. They always know. It never surprises them, the punch that we throw.
Yeah, something powerful.
What we have to do, what we have to do, is what they've done. The way you keep a slave is by not letting them know they're a slave, right? I mean, I could make you think you're the boss and you're not, or I can make you think I'm giving you education for one thing, but it's education for a whole nother.
Sure.
We just got to be a little bit more strategic about the way we ask. And the thing about me is, I don't even want to ask. I want to take.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
The thing is, power concedes nothing without a demand. You got to. You got to.
I've been able to go into 40 or 50 schools this year and teach kids how to dream, and teach principals how to teach teachers how to dream. I've been able to, go into these places where there's Black public officials and distribute information, but in the form of, if I don't like the fact that 1 out of every 15 kids don't have a book, then I'm gonna make one.
Yes.
I'm gonna get their cognitive skills up, and I'm gonna teach them in their love language.
Yes.
You know, so
Absolutely.
it's just I just don't believe that before when we were in control. I think parents were able to teach their kids. I don't think they were strangers teaching their kids how to be adults. And this thing about taking your children and giving them to strangers that may be, more traumatized than you can ever imagine to teach you how to be successful. I don't see how that works out.
Yes.
A kid can't retain but 45 minutes of an 8-hour day, which means a class should only be 15 minutes, and the other 45 minutes is usually garbage. You
Yes.
know,
I've got to say,
why do we need to learn pi and Latin and why do we need to learn algebra if we're not going to be engineers? Why not? I'd rather learn how to pass a law. I'd rather
yeah,
learn how to farm. I'd rather learn how to code. I'd rather learn about space travel, which is happening in the future. And by the time I'm an adult, if I'm a kid, then that industry is going to realize itself. I want to know about Web3. I want to know about AI. I want to know about the future, not the past. And
yes.
it's for us to do as much as we can to learn about the future first so we can teach it to our culture first. So we can be ahead instead of having them teach us their version of it in the way they want to.
Now let
We
me ask you.
become our teachers as
Yeah,
opposed to depending on them.
absolutely. Now let me ask you this: Do you see yourself running for any political office in the future?
I smoke too much weed. I
Because
don't like to be, I can't be bound by rules. I got to be able to do me. I got to be able to embarrass people. I will be powerful in getting people elected because I have a network. We don't
yes,
own any television networks. I've been trying to acquire some. And what I've learned is Revolt, Bounce, BET, Aspire, none of them are black owned. They're all black faced.
okay.
You know,
And that raises another issue, and that I wanted to ask you about. Um, when you see the brands and you see these brands, like in the case of Ciroc vodka with P Diddy, and a host of other brands, and sometimes the public thinks that these brands or these products are owned by these celebrities, and that when they go and support
but when it
these,
comes to Dame Dash, they actually are.
and that's a beautiful thing, because they are
This is what
supporting it
happens, right?
100%.
When you use the devil's money to get the money of our angels, then you going to hell, period. You
Yeah,
work for the devil, then you going where the devil's at.
because recently,
And I won't.
and you're commendable for that, because recently, in the case of the Ciroc and P Diddy, they broke his contract. They wouldn't renew it, to
But he
my
didn't
understanding.
own it. He had a good
Moment.
deal, but he didn't own it.
He didn't own it, and I think that was worth several $100 million, from my
Well,
understanding.
it's hard to have an opinion when you work. You can't talk about your boss when they're paying you so much. So,
Yeah,
no, that's
and,
why I choose not to have a boss that pays me so much because I'm not going to tolerate certain things.
and I think we've got to know the difference, when people in our community are supporting these businesses, to know that either they own these businesses, that they own the equity, the stock, the brick and mortar of these businesses, and not just the pitchman or spokesperson for a major corporation that's using them,
The
to
problem is, the
community.
problem is, the ones that won't fold don't get hurt, and the ones
Yeah,
that do, that's the reason why they get hurt. If another culture is celebrating one of us too much, that means that we are not doing enough for our culture and do too much for theirs.
yes,
When someone helps, it's like the saddest thing, and it's a very strategic thing to keep our culture in survival mode because that's when you do start to say, yo, I got to eat. I got to do what I got to do to eat. When people are underwater, if someone from another culture is going to give them a little oxygen, they're going to take it. So that's the reason why when we're up, we have to stick together so we don't have to keep selling each other out.
People need to understand, like, you know, I've never been driven by, you know, celebrity and, you know, all that, because a lot of the stuff is not even real. You know what I'm saying? Dane made an interesting point to me when he said he would visit celebrities' houses and they hardly had any pictures of their family, which I think that shit is crazy. They had pictures of other celebrities other than their own family.
The
And
biggest
I'm not,
groupies be celebrities. Biggest
yeah.
groupies.
And I was like, man, you know, that was something I didn't even think of. One of the things I will tell you, because I can only speak to what I know, I had an opportunity that I think a lot of people don't have. I got an opportunity to stay with Dane for several days to see how he moved. This brother I can say is truly authentic. This is what he do. This ain't an act. This ain't let me just try to fake this thing or whatever. This is something that I speak to. Knowing and being around his family, knowing how he loves the culture, knowing how he loves his son, his fiance, and
it speaks volumes.
You know, and that for me, he had a friend for life, because this is not just a snapshot. This is a long journey.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? For him to take it upon, I asked for his number. He called me, and I'm like, man, this, you know, he could be doing a million. They don't have to do this. He got, using Dane's word, he got all these verticals. I got movies. I got movies. He got vitamins. He got football. He got all of these things. And like, why you gonna call Mike McGrone over this? You don't got time. But to come to the facility several times, to accept my phone calls any time of the day, to flush this thing out, to actually be an advocate, support, to me speaks volumes. And for that, honestly say, I don't even know, because these celebrities out here, they're not real to me, and they're not even happy, because they're not fighting for something that's worth fighting for. And so the issue with the prison system, when you talk about, you know, African American history and knowing themselves, first of all, they gotta know how to read. I got kids that don't, the literacy. You could put a picture in front of them unless we want our kids to just look at pictures like 3-year-olds. I got kids reading a 1.2 grade point. They can't read. They don't have the think to process. That's why they're emotional. I'm dealing with a lot of emotional boys that's socially engineered. And that's a term. If you know anything about eugenics, that was developed to specifically target the learning styles of certain people, Black people. The SAT was developed by eugenics to specifically point out areas to support the experiences of white folks. Because if you talk about, there are certain words and certain things that we use in our community that white folks use, and it means something totally different to us. So our kids are being socially engineered. I'm a behavior scientist. I study behavior, human behavior. And so this stuff is very serious to me. So when you got a population where kids are receiving therapy by all white women, they don't go outside for months to years at a time. They breathe recycled air. They're on units where they cannot coexist with other units. They go home within 5 to 7 months, 5 months to a year, with the recommendation of an all-white female staff to the same community with young people who they are ops with, who they didn't get to support, who they didn't receive therapy. So it's a guaranteed, say, we crack addicts for the system. This is real. And so
absolutely. Now let me ask you, the both of you are members of OSG.
Off school ground.
Off school grounds. So briefly, tell me your level of participation in that organization, and what kind of impact has that organization had on our, you know, communities, and in the case of those incarcerated from our community, and in this case, youth, and youth and young adults in the various communities across the country.
I can speak to it like, it's been life changing for me. I first met Dane, like I said, March of 23, and ever since then, it has totally changed the trajectory of my life. As far as writing the book that I had, School to Prison Pipeline, I think McKeezy, who's the president, CEO with All School Grounds, came out himself to bear witness to the atrocities of the issues that were going on. He didn't get a chance to visit because that's when they closed everybody out the building. But the simple fact for the president to come out, he and Dane, and to have the total support of educators all over the country to say, Mike, we got your back. We got your back. This is a powerful group of particular African-American principals and people alike all over the world that are topping their game to say, we're gonna put our support, we're gonna support McGrone. Dame is, speaking about it all over the country. It's going viral. It is gaining a national platform, and this is just the beginning. And I'll let Dame speak to that because this is just surface stuff.
Yes, Dame, to come back to you here for a moment. What's your participation in OSG, and what do you believe is the impact that the organization is having? And
well, for me, Lays from MOP, was a manager of still is of MOP, brought me onto the Zoom, and I just saw a pathway to being able to take frustrations that I was having about education and being able to fix them. I designed the logo. I did a class for like 2 years of a master class of entrepreneurship for the principals to teach them how to teach other people to be entrepreneurs by leading by example. And they're just a family. Think about having a think tank with 30 or 40 people with doctorates and principals and really intelligent people that are selfless, really trying to help others before themselves. It's a sight that I had never seen. Is black or white, is a bunch of people that really celebrate each other's success as opposed to hating or bringing the politics. And it's a visual of us helping us and also them, because they always think we can only help each other, but we help everybody.
Yes, and this is one of the things that impresses me the most about you, as Mike was pointing out. I mean, you don't have to be doing this. I mean, you've accomplished so much in life, highly esteemed. I mean, you're at the top of the entertainment, industry as far as you. But yet you give of yourself to the community and you make your presence felt. I mean, you literally come here to Chicago, to the grounds of the IYC, and you make your voice heard. And it's a rarity, and we've got to point out it's a rarity when someone of your background and your experience and stature gets down into the into the field, does the kind of field work, front line. And it would be so easy for you to say, hey, I don't have to do this. I can just kick my feet up somewhere off the on the beaches of South Florida with a drink, and as you would say, a smoke, and enjoy. But you put yourself out here on the front, and this has got to be a passion of yours.
But I think you need to call him Dr. Dash because recently Dane was he ain't gonna tell you this, but I gotta put him out there. He's actually a doctor. He went out, I can't think of the school offhand, but he was actually legitimately
Awarded.
Yeah.
He was awarded a doctorate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Dame, can you tell us about this? Come on, don't hold back. Tell us about this. You were awarded a doctorate, an honorary doctorate degree. Tell me more.
I mean, what can
Tell
I
us
say?
more.
They felt that based on what I was doing, I deserved it, and I'm not gonna not take it. So
yes,
in the OSG, everybody's studying and doing their dissertations. You know what I mean, writing books, and I was able to write one. I can't say it's the same as a traditional one, but for a guy that got his GED and got kicked out of every school he went to, it's gratifying to know that I could be looked at as a teacher in the most untraditional way. you know.
Of course, but you've got that drive, man. I mean, you've learned through the school of hard knocks. I mean, the things that you've learned, I've heard you in a few interviews before. They're not even teaching that in some of these universities. They're
No, they're
not
not
teaching
teaching
you how
many
to.
of them. They can't.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got to be
yeah.
living it.
They're not teaching you so much how to be an entrepreneur, how to do the footwork and the groundwork and the networking, and to get out there and hit the pavement like you have. So you've reached quite a high status. So tell us, what university awarded you the doctorate?
Oh
Uh,
man, I just forgot the name. Don't do that.
what organization?
I forgot the name of the college. Hold on, let me get it.
What?
I'll be forgetting.
And that'll always be a reason for you to come back, and do another interview with us. But but your network, America New, you got to
Download
you
America, type in NU, and it's free. And we get the full benefit of the CPM, the data. We own the ad tech, all of it. So we're a black-owned network with black-owned tech, ad tech, which is
yes.
important. You know,
Yes, I think that is awesome and commendable. What inspired you to name your network? What's the inspiration behind the name?
it's the way I look at America. The new America is a collective of like-minded freedom fighters, creative, independent thinkers that come together to create and giving a platform to that's the new America. It's not black, it's not white, it's everybody. We're all human, you
Hey,
know.
I,
And
I, I
I'm not
look,
a
I love that,
pardon?
and I love that because Madiba is inspired by the African term, the meaning as highly esteemed gentleman and freedom fighter. It was inspired by by Nelson Mandela.
Nice.
So when you say freedom fighter, I can totally relate, and your network. I think we've got some good
This
synergy there.
magazine that go with it.
I love it. Oh, awesome,
Mhm.
awesome.
And a
Yes,
magazine.
and the magazine. And now, how long have you been publishing the actual magazine?
I actually just been making it. I ain't even put them out yet. I'm about to start putting them out when I launch the network. This is work that's not out yet. Here's comic books that's not out,
Awesome.
movies. We have publishing. We got everything. You know,
And these are publications and projects all spearheaded by your company.
all of them paid for by us.
Awesome.
Sneakers, everything.
You
Sneakers,
know,
socks, hoodies, shirts,
and
whatever.
listen, and I got to tell you, you
Glasses.
gotta. I listen. You got to bank on Dame Dash, man. You got to bank on Dame because one thing about a businessman, and it's not about the celebrity side of it. Because I'm like Mike, the celebrity side of it doesn't really impress me, but the businessman that knows how to go out there and make things happen, he has that knowledge that he never loses. It's like riding a bike. Once you know how to do it, you perfect it, you never lose it. So when you're signing new acts and new entertainers and new products, we know that there's a lot more of that to come down the road,
I'm not
down the
signing
pipeline.
nobody. B. I'm buying companies, making
When
new networks. I'm done with that. I'm not
you're
signing
not,
nobody.
but you have some new
What I
acts.
do is I do partnerships with people. So I
Yes,
identify someone that could be a franchise, and then I become the administrative business and point of view, and I help them get where they got to go, and then I move on.
yes,
But right now is we're creating companies. I started from scratch on all verticals, funded independently, and if I do decide to raise some money to buy something, it would be an acquisition of a balance sheet and a footprint, but that's another way of entrepreneurship.
yes, absolutely. And you shared a thought. I heard you share a thought before that really impressed me, and it was about your sharing the wealth and prosperity with people in your community, with your neighbors and people in your community. And I think you said something along the effect of these would be individuals that would be friends of your children and of your family. So why wouldn't you want to see them live prosperously? And to me, that had such an impact because I was just sharing the same thoughts with someone in my family not long ago. And it's like, why do, so many people not want to see people right in their own communities thrive? These are people that you're walking by the streets, walking by every day on the streets. You're driving by them. Your children are going to school with them. Why wouldn't you want a greater degree of prosperity? So, for other individuals in your community. And so when I heard you say that and speak that, it really had impact because I knew that you were true, to your commitment to try to empower other people, and to open those doors for other people, and that has an impact. Now I understand you've got the whole family working with you in your businesses now.
I mean, my girl I always work with my family. My ex-wife is Rachel Roy. I made that company, with her. My current wife is Raquel Horn, and she wrote the books, and she has her own network, Applefish Kids, and we're partners. She runs the business. So me, I'm trying to settle in and be a stay-at-home soccer dad.
It's a it sounds like anything but, man. I mean, you're out on tour. Now.
When I'm on tour, what I do is during the day, the same band that performs with me at night performs with Raquel and does the children's records in the schools. And then at nighttime, or in the afternoon, I'll do my talk. And then at nighttime, we do the music. But I try to make it where we all move around together.
So tell me, yeah, yes,
when I had opportunities just to see how he moved,
yes,
home, I was amazed. How do you do? I got a job. I'm 9 to 5. I'm typical average American, whatever. But I feel like I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, damn, we got this going on. Got this going on. I'm like, man, when do you sleep? How do you? But one thing I do say that I've learned from him is that when he's out, he's out. When he's home, he's home. So
yes,
those that he takes to recover. But I can tell you, I don't know too many people can hang with him. When he out working, you better expect. So he already got me like, Mike, we're gonna do these movies, we're gonna do these pilots and da. So I'm back in the weight room. I gotta get my stamina. I gotta get my separate back because if you work with him, oh, you're gonna be up and you're gonna put in some work. I can tell you that unequivocally because this is a brother that
My day started.
and I was beginning to get a little concerned at first because I said, "Oh my God!" The first time that I spoke with you, Dane, and I didn't know that we were preparing. You were prepared for an interview that day, and when we had to reschedule, I said, "Man, I hope I don't lose him due to the fact that he's very busy and on tour." And so I was really hoping and praying that you'd find the time and make the time to talk and interview with our magazine, especially because we share the mission that you have, I believe, in helping people, across the country and all of the communities, and especially those who find themselves without a voice, disadvantaged, and yeah. So I'm honored to say the least, and I can tell you from being a New Yorker, you're not at all intimidated by the fight.
What fight? I already fought to get out of there. I'm good. This ain't no fight.
I'm talking about the fight that continues for freedom, man. I mean, we're coming up independence.
It's a step that we have to take, and if we fight the right way, it doesn't have to be laborious. It's like running on a treadmill and going nowhere is a waste of time unless you're just trying to lose weight. But for me, we just make strategic moves, and when we come out, they're impactful, and it's important, And
yes,
that's it.
absolutely. So where do you see now? Now, where are you calling home now? Are you in South Florida now? You living?
During the winter, we're about to go to Wyoming next week.
Okay.
So we stay in Wyoming for the summer. We got
Okay. Yeah, Wyoming is some beautiful country, man. Some beautiful territory out there out west.
Beautiful. It's
You
beautiful.
know, and I know the families got to love it, man, because oftentimes you hear about you know, the businessman, the owners don't have time to spend with the family, but you are making it a priority, and I think that's
My
you know,
business is my family.
yes,
Yeah,
I just shot this shirt right here that's my son on it.
that's
It's from
that's
the
yeah,
book. The book is
yeah.
about him. The movie is about him. The album is about him.
Okay, I think I heard you mention that Dusko goes to outer space, or
Dusko Goes to Space sold 60,000 books first year. To
awesome,
put that in perspective, a bestseller is 10,000. And
awesome.
we just put out Dusko Goes to Sea, and that already moved 10,000 joints. So, you know, again, we made the clothing line, the book, the show, the movie. We just finished shooting the movie today.
Awesome.
as a matter of fact, Dusko was with us at the rally. So you talk about family. But
Dusko was at the jail. They
Oh
had us
my,
locked, they had us locked in the jail, and
oh,
Dusko was in the
right, Dusko
car.
was there.
oh my God. Yeah, I
So
think I
Dusko,
remember. I think I remember you here. I think I remember hearing you say that when the doors went click, the locks clicked, and you were locked in. You said, "Hey, my son's outside, and my wife's not here. She's
No,
not
so
there with me."
Dusko,
she was inside with me.
Huh?
She was taking pictures in the lobby. She didn't know that shit was gonna lock like that.
Yeah. That was quite a moment. I think I could hear those locks click in the
yeah.
video.
You heard him.
So when you say family goes, there, Dusko was with us. Dusko pretty
Dusko's
much
a
out.
freedom fighter in training.
Look, I'm
Superhero,
telling
right?
you, when you're in
Hey,
Chicago,
you heard him? He said, I'm a superhero. Say, I'm a superhero.
That's my guy, Dusko.
yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Dame is definitely a superhero.
Mm-hmm. He's a
Yes,
superhero in training.
awesome. That is awesome. Um, so let me ask you in closing and bringing the interview to a conclusion. Um, we are celebrating now the 50th anniversary of hip hop. Are there some moments and cherishable moments that you think milestones that you think are worth noting at this benchmark in time? You know, with the genre of music.
My question is, who determines what year hip hop was born?
Okay.
Like, where did that happen? And I can't be older than hip hop. I'm 53, so that's ridiculous. So, sometimes we start to think things start when they recognize us, and that ain't it. Hip hop's probably been around for 100 years. You know what I mean? It just got recognized here,
Yes.
possibly years ago. But
Yes.
every day for me has been monumental.
No, I think we're getting a silhouette. We're getting your silhouette here. And it looks like you're firing up one of the famous South Floridian cigars.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Now you see my backdrop is the Chicago picturesque the Riverwalk, Chicago Riverwalk. So are you going to be coming back to Chicago for the convention and all the political things going on here soon?
More than likely.
That's awesome. We'll have to definitely try to meet up during that time. We'll be doing a lot of covering of the Democratic National Convention and the things that are going on around town during that time. And what does success look like for Dame Dash 5 years from now?
I mean, I always determine my success from how happy my family is. Really, my dreams, because I made my dreams come true. You got to remember, I retired from Rockefeller when I was 35. Did that. I'm 53. So my dreams are to see the people I love's dreams come true. So my girl had dyslexia when she was young. Always felt insecure about reading when she was in school. And for her to be able to write a best-selling book and be able to go back into schools and teach, to have her child, and to have a business, a self-sustainable business,
Yes.
For her to have that, I'm watching her in her dream right now, which is my dream. So watching all the dreams and things we have in the future realize themselves as it relates to Dusko Goes to franchise, the Kids Network, America New, also a couple other acquisitions that we want to make. All my verticals being stimulated to pop culture, but still being independent is my dream.
Yes.
I would prefer not to have to acquire a business for a balance sheet, which sometimes you got to. But I
Yeah.
believe I can make that on my own. I'm a founder of businesses, not one that buys them.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And you certainly have an impressive track record with building and creativity. I mean,
More of a
you
creative now. I'm a director. I'm in a band. I like to do the creative aspect of it all, and I've embraced that. So that's why my life is a lot happier. See, the thing about God is God will give you what you need, not what you want. So motherfuckers be praying to God, and when God doesn't bring them what they prayed for, then they lose faith.
right.
God, God's going to give you what you need, and what you need is love, and that's what
Yes.
people need to be looking for instead of money.
You
So
know,
I
yes.
found unconditional love. I got a
Yeah.
family that I can marinate and enjoy. A lot of people have families, and because they got it so easy, they don't appreciate it. You know,
Yes.
so I've been through
Yes.
a couple of dysfunctional situations, and finally, I could recognize function, and I can marinate and enjoy it. So
Yeah.
that's why I've been strategic about architecting the fact that my business revolves around my family, so I don't have to leave them so much.
Yes, and it's wonderful that you made that statement as we sort of wrap up the interview here, because you rekindled a thought with me, and the it- it- money. Our society doing way too much for money? Like you said, we need love. People need love. They need support,
Just think about this:
and
who created
now.
money?
Well, of course, we know that
Man,
it's the system. We know the
man. Who
government
created
punts it.
love?
God,
God. So whose currency am I hustling and abiding by?
absolutely. You want to abide by God's.
Nothing
Yeah.
man-made will ever make me compromise because
Yes.
men don't do things for the intention of their children sometimes unless they're real men. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
division and money is the devil, and it was created by the devil. So when we go to Jekyll Island, where they had strategically put together how they were going to control currency and how gold was supposed to be backing it and all of that. Now we
Yes.
go back and redefine what currency is in the same places that they did. We got to define what currency is because their currency is just a piece of paper that's not backed by anything. Basically, everyone's fighting over a Ponzi scheme,
Yes.
and,
Yes. And
currency is being created daily.
and I think that's where you get your richness and you draw your richness from. You draw it from God, from the sun, from humanity, from your family, and not the US dollar. And see, I believe that young people have to have that impressed upon them, is that there are things that you do for money and there are things that you don't do for money. And I think that this society has become so driven to chase money, that a lot of that aspect and approach is riddled with destruction. And so you're looking at cases, like you look at some of the celebrities, and I won't say any names, but the allegations of sex slaves, and the allegations of these things that they're engaging in for money. It's, you ask yourself, and a lot of young people today say, hey, I'm just chasing the money. I'm just going after the money, by any means necessary. And my opinion is you're giving too much weight to currency, to money that you're not going to take with you when you leave, you know.
That usually comes from people that don't know how to make money. Making money is the easiest thing in the world. Keeping it is a little different. But, it's just about focus, not being afraid. And it's about not being afraid not to have it. You understand what I
Yes,
mean? So,
absolutely.
to me, bills can get paid late. You know, I've had tax problems since 2005. I've had to be cash and carry and no credit. And, you know, we have timing issues, but who cares? As long as people get paid and, you know,
Yeah.
you consistently have a record of paying people.
And you're nowhere near the finish line. So that's today. Next month, you may be up another 20 million or what
that's
have
how
you.
being an entrepreneur is. Once you make money,
Yeah.
you got to invest it all. So
Exactly.
when I sell a company, literally, like I could sell a company for 30, 40 million, have a conversation with my kids and say, yo, we about to be broke next week because I'm betting it all. Are y'all all right
Yes.
with that? And they'd be like, cool. And I'm like, all right.
Yes. And a lot of people don't know when you're an entrepreneur, you may be strapped for cash at times, but when
Not
you get a
maybe,
good
you have to be.
well, you are. Yeah, you are.
Or else you're not an entrepreneur.
But when you get paid, paydays can be very hefty sometimes. And some of your paydays and the paydays of successful entrepreneurs can be bigger than the lifetime earnings of many.
Well, the average person doesn't make their first million until they're 50. I did that in my 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the reality. You know, certain business deals can propel you far ahead. So that is really commendable.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you think it's normal when you're young, but once you hit 53 and you look at what other young people are doing, you're like, damn, that was amazing.
Yeah. Yes, but I can tell you, you're not letting up for sure. So I don't think age is a big, big factor here, and 53 young, you're nowhere near retirement.
Well, nah, you know, my last name is Dash. That means life. So, you know, I'm gonna live. I'm having too much fun to slow down.
Yes,
I don't think
yes.
I don't think Dame know he's 53. I've been around. Trust me. I don't think he know he that. Sometimes he may get an ailment here and there, but I think he forget.
I have to remind myself at times. That's what happens.
Yes. That is awesome. Well, listen, Damon, I'd like to say this in closing, and also Principal McGrone, you both are superheroes. To take a stand is not often that you find individuals in our community that take a stand for those who are voiceless, that oftentimes can't be heard, that are marginalized, and you really put your grit behind it. You really put your grit into it and make sure that those voices and the rights for those individuals are fought for. And it's so commendable. And especially when, we don't see it often by prominent individuals in our community that's willing to put their careers on the line, that's willing to put their jobs on the line, as you are, and as you have, Principal McGrone, to speak up, for the betterment of people and humanity. And it means so much when you do find established, successful individuals that are willing to stand up for what is right for humanity, and things that matter. And it speaks volumes to the humanity, inside of you, and to the men and the caliber of men that the both of you are. So, I can tell you that the world is certainly much better because of individuals like you. And there's a rarity with that, and definitely we need much more of that, in the Black communities across the country. So that is really, really to be commended. And I thank you for participating in the interview with Madiba Magazine. It's going to be a pleasure and an honor to feature the both of you in the pages of the magazine, and to share your stories with our readers and subscribers.